Welcome back to the Healing Chamber Podcast. This is Layla, and today we are talking about alchemy, and we're talking about the ancient Egyptian origin of the word and what it means, basically. So, when it comes to the word, back in ancient Egypt, it was actually called Alkemia. Alkemia, so al means the, and chemia or chem is actually referring to the black soil of the Nile Valley, which was associated with the black arts of transmutation. So when we talk about alchemy, we're actually talking about the black art of transmutation. So a lot of times when we hear people say things like, transmute your pain or your trauma into power, this is what they mean. And for some reason, a lot of spiritual teachers don't really get into details about the practical steps of alchemy. But here you're going to notice I get very specific. I don't just say those phrases. I don't just say to people, trust the process, all right? We actually have very efficient, practical steps that you can apply in your daily life, all right? So when it comes to alchemy, of course, it comes from the alchemy of metals, turning a metal into gold. It's the same type of principle. So we understand that. That's the basis of alchemy. So the first thing we have to do is we have to identify a situation or a problem, for example, right? So let's say we don't like the current dynamic, we don't like the current pattern that we have in our life, and we want to transmute it or transform it into something better. So the first thing obviously is to identify the problem, of course. The second thing is we want to analyze the components, all right? So we have to break down all the components of a situation. So we have to use our mind, obviously, to do that. We have to use our rational brain. All right. So for example, in a situation, we want to see, who are the people involved? What are the resources available? The external factors, if there's any constraints. And we want to remove whatever doesn't work. Okay. Or let me just rephrase that. We want to remove it or change it, right? So I'm not saying if you have a business to just fire everybody. I know that's what a lot of corporations do, unfortunately. But sometimes you can actually just take people and put them into different departments, and then your business become optimal again. So sometimes it's just, placing people at the most optimal department or space, right? And then the third step is to define the goals. We have to be very specific. So what is the desired outcome of the alchemical process? What do we want to achieve here? What is the end goal? And obviously we want something that's very specific. We might want to not write any specific names, or if you want to manifest a specific person, let's just keep it very vague. So let's say you want to manifest a husband, just don't write any names. So the best person for that position, for that role in your life, is going to be able to come into your life. So you're not blocking your blessings, basically. This is what I mean. And so the other step is to explore alternatives. So consider different perspectives, approaches to address a situation, solutions. You want to be open to unconventional ideas and creative thinking as well. And so the other step now is the most important, is you actually have to blend a few techniques and strategies. So this is part of the alchemical process to transform the situation. So you want to visualize into the darkness, but you also want to use the darkness in many different ways. You can use a black journal with a black pen, for example, and write, what you desire in the present tense as if you already received it, obviously. You can use a scrying mirror, a cauldron, anything that is connected to the womb, to the darkness. All right, so you have to blend a few different techniques. You can also use jar spells as well. What else? Bowls. Let's say you want to do like a love bowl or a money bowl, and also meditations at night, so the subconscious reprogramming as well. These are all darkness techniques to manifest, but you want to use a few different strategies. Yeah, exactly. So the other step now is to let go of the outcome, because you have to trust in your God and goddess capabilities. And so if you're always, doubting that it's coming to you, and you keep asking questions to your mentors, you keep looking around, is it there yet, or maybe I have to do like another spell because this one didn't work, like now you're not in the right frequency. You're in the frequency of doubting and you're repelling it. So you have to actually practice on already having it when it comes to your emotion. So this is like an emotional journey at this point. You want to maintain balance when it comes to your emotion, but you really want to make sure that your emotions stay in that frequency. If you caught yourself having some negative thoughts or doubts or anything, don't just spiral down into like depression because you had those thoughts and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna manifest some negative things. This might just be a sign that your nervous system is dysregulated. Because when we're dysregulated, this is usually when we start overthinking or procrastinating. But if you can shut off your mind, this is usually a sign that you have to get back into the goddess state, which I always talk about. And you have to make sure that you feel grounded and at peace. But again, it's a lifestyle, it's a process, and it's not about toxic positivity. That's very different. You're using your emotions as a sign of where your frequency is at, basically. So if you keep on finding yourself in a position where you're constantly worrying and overthinking and crying or, doubting, then you just observe your emotions, observe your state. And as you're observing yourself, first of all, you get into a state of acceptance instead of fighting those negative emotions, right? You become curious about them sometimes, obviously do the somatic exercises and, self-regulation exercises, but also observe your thoughts. And, you can also rationalize them and be like, oh, you know what? This is why I'm overthinking right now, because the last time I was in that position, the last time this happened to me, something negative happened, and now my ego is just trying to protect me from experiencing that again. So I'm just basically overthinking to protect myself. And sometimes it works. Sometimes it just literally goes away because you just accepted the negative thoughts and you just understood it and you just accepted them instead of suppressing them. And sometimes they leave that way. Or sometimes you have to, go with your body and just really regulate your nervous system and maybe slow down a little bit on caffeine. Sometimes it's also that it could be as well, if you're lacking some vitamins, it can also give you some physical symptoms as well. So you really have to experiment here and get to know yourself. This is a very personal journey. And obviously, the more you persist with your vision, not with the hard work, hustle, and actions, but when you persist with the vision and you have grounded and aligned actions, just a little bit. We don't need to do all that, work. But obviously, the more you're going to persist in there, this is when you're going to get your results in the physical. And then obviously you get to celebrate, because we always have to celebrate. I usually recommend on celebrating by yourself. Especially if it's something that is not like permanent yet, or it's not, like let's say you meet the love of your life, but you guys are not, married yet, you're engaged, for example. I would just keep it hush, because obviously people's energy can, I wouldn't say cancel, but they can disrupt your blessings. They can slow it down. They can plant some seeds of doubts or negativity in your head. So you want to make sure that, if you do want to share the good news, try to really keep it low and just say like something very small instead of telling the whole thing, right? So yeah, so that's it for today's episode on alchemy. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.